Good morning, dear students. Welcome to another session of Verilog HDL. So, in previous session, we discussed regarding modules, in which how a module is declared. So, what are the important parts of the module, and what are the important components which are present in the module, which are compulsorily required for say declaring or defining a module, and which are non, which are optional, which are optional. So these all things we had discussed, and a few example related to say SR latch also we discussed, and we saw which parts were missing in the module, which parts were utilized in the module, and what was the compulsory or the non-optional part in the module. So these all things we have discussed. So one important thing which comes around with the modules is the ports or the terminal list. So sometimes ports is also termed as terminals. So invariably these terms will be utilized. So ports basically they provide interface for the module which you have developed. So using those ports, you will be able to communicate with the external or the environment which is around it. Environment in the sense, say if adder is there and if you want to give some input to that, so how that input gets connected to the adder. That is, the adder is the module, and the variables what you're giving. So those act as the parameters which are in the environment. This is what port is utilized for. Then we can have them defined as input or output and or combination of IO ports. So this is so if you just look at the ICs, right? ICs will be having some pinouts. So on that pinouts, few pins will be like acting as input pins, few are like output pins, and the others like in-out pins. That is input and output bidirectional. So such kind of implementation is also required when you're dealing with Verilog or any hardware description language. So hence we see that there is a requirement for port list and its declaration, or terminal list and its declaration. So based on the direction in which the ports are operating, we can have three different kinds. That is input ports, then we have the output ports, and the say in-out ports. So these are few things which come around with the ports. Then ports are also termed as terminals. That is what we specified. Now, whenever we are declaring a module, what happens is the module either can have the port list or it cannot have. So this is the optional part in the module definition. The compulsory part in a module definition are what? The compulsory part are the keyword module, module name, and end module statement. Rest all are optional. So a module can have a list of ports or it cannot have a list of ports, that is, which is optional. So an example is shown over here. So we have a full adder, which is a module, which is being instantiated by its higher level module, that is top. So this is the top level module, which is termed as top over here. This creates an instance of this full adder. So when it is creating an instance of this full adder, it has to provide some information. Now here, what is happening is top module, if you just observe, it is not accepting any say input, or it is not giving any output, or there is no in-out port available. So there is no parameter, there is no port list or terminal list present for top. Whereas for full adder, if you just observe, we have these three acting as the input and these two acting as the output. So therefore, full adder should have a terminal list or a port list. So based on this block diagram, we can just analyze that part. Top, there is no port list, but for full adder module, there are port list. So that is what is specified over here. So when we have to declare or define this one, what we have module, full adder, what is the port list consisting of? Some C underscore out, A, B, C underscore N. So these are the port list. These are the port list. But with case of the top, there is no port list. So this is what we can observe from this block diagram. So then moving further, So once the port list has been defined, we can go for declaration of the port list, whether it is input port, output port, whether it is in-out port. So these all things. So that is we can just check out that these are the different ports which will be available. Input port, then we have the output port and the in-out port. So in this one, what happens is in input port, signal can enter the module via this port. Output port, signal leaves the module from this port, and in-out port, signal either can enter or it can leave the module from this port using this port. So that is what is happening in this case. So whenever you have port list, you have to declare what is the type of port, whether it is input, output, or in-out. So these are the things what we have to go ahead. Now, when we are discussing with respect to this, we should know what are the keywords which are related to defining the ports. If I want to define it as input, I have to use the keyword input. If I have to define it as output, I have to use the keyword as output. And if it is bidirectional, then I have to use the keyword in-out. So these are the different keywords which are present in Verilog in order to define the ports. So here we have an example in which we have module, full adder. These are the port list. So once the port list is there, then I have to go for the declaration part. You can see that declaration part is over here. So sum is the output, which is 4-bit. So it is output. Cout, this is also output and it is 1-bit in size. So by default, it will be 1-bit. This is input. A and B, both are of 4 bits each. And there is another input, which is 1-bit, that is Cin, which is input. So in this case, I don't have any in-out present in this case. In-out put is not present. So rest all this thing can have say behavioral or gate level or data flow level abstraction which is present in order to implement say the adder what you want to go ahead. So next part in continuation with the port declarations. So implicitly what happens is when we declare a port, by default it is wire. That is, it is of net data type by default. By default, it is net data type. So therefore, by default, we specify that it is a wire. For example, if I have a IC, I'm giving input and I'm taking the output. So by default, what happens is I make the connection via the wire. So if I just take it analogous to that, so I'm making connections through those things. Now, another thing to remember is if I have to hold the value, wires do not hold the value. Wires do not hold the value. But if you want to hold a value, then the data type has to be changed for a reg data type, register data type. So that is again dependent. It is generally used for output port. So by default, the implicit declaration is wire. So if I just make a few more observations, what would happen is input and in-out ports. They are normally declared as wires. But what about the output ports? So output ports, sometimes they have to hold the value. Say, for example, you have a memory element, then in that case, say Q is there, I have input like T, then there is clock. So based on this T value and the clock value, Q should hold its value for the entire one duration cycle of the clock. So it has to hold. So such kind of information has to be declared as reg data type. So values must be declared as register data types. So by default, they are wire. So in general, normally what happens, input and output are declared as wires and output ports, so if they have to hold the values, they'll be declared as reg data types or register data types. Now, why in-out ports cannot be input and in-out ports cannot be declared as reg data type, register data types is because they generally don't need to store the values. They have to just reflect the changes which are happening. Suppose, for example, if I just consider there is a temperature sensor and which is sensing the temperature. Now, what this is doing is it is just trying to see if any change is there in the temperature, and based on some logic, you can give some output from this module. So this is just keeping the track of whether the change is happening or not. If some changes happen, that time only some reflection would be present at the output. So that is what that is one of the reasons why you don't declare input and outputs as registered data types. Now, since this in-out is acting both as input and output, so for that purpose also, we have this register data type. Only for output ports, we can go ahead with register data types. So we have example over here, module D flip-flop. This is the port list. Then here output is Q, and I am declaring it as a register data type. Register data type. If I don't use it, if I don't specify, by default it will be wire. By default it will be wire or net data type. It will be the net data type. So here, since Q has to store the value, Q has to store the value because it is a D flip-flop what we are talking of. So if it has to store the value, I have to declare it as register data type. Then you can see that we have input, D, clock, and reset. So by default, all are 1 bit. So then whatever implementation has to be done, it can be done in this part. So again, you can see that compulse or non-optional, this thing is module, module name, and end module statement. Rest all can be optional. So in this case, we have a port list and port declaration, which is present. So whenever we are speaking of port list, right, there are some rules what we have to follow. That is, what is the port connection rules? And now, basically, what happens is we can see the port connections in 2 ways. That is, connections which are to the internal unit and the connections that are external unit. That is, connections internal to the module and connections external to the module. So when this is the case, how do we go ahead? So in port connection rules, what happens is we can observe here. So whenever the ports can be either of 3 types: input, output, or in-out. So now we have internal unit and external unit, that is within the module and external to the module. Internal to the module and external to the module. So now what is the port declaration type which will be present here? So here we have an example. So this is all internal. This is all internal. And these things which are there, right, they will be external to this module. They will be external to this module. Now here we can see that, so we'll go for the internal case, that is internal unit. So input, the connection rule is input, and the internal for internal unit, its data type will be net data type. That is, it will be declared as a wire by default. It will be declared as a wire. Then for in-out, it is again net data type. For output, it is a register or register data type or net data type. So example was the D flip-flop what we were talking about. So now when these connections are internal to the module, then this is the data type which is which we have to provide. Now, so that is what we have specified. What is specified over here? When the port is internal to the module, internal to the module. So input is net data type. Then in-out is also net data type, and output is register or net data type. Now imagine what would say there is another module. So this module is giving the result and accepting the results from the other module. So this is within another module. So for example, this is full ladder, and this is the top module what we had discussed. So now if you just observe over here, So this data type, this data type, this signal which is there, so which is actually output of the internal module. So when it goes to the external, this thing that is communication with the external module. So when it goes to the external module, what this one is acting? This one is acting as input to the top module. This one is acting as input to the top module, and this one is being given to this full adder. So it is acting like the output which is provided by this one. So this is acting like output which is provided by the top module, and this one is bidirectional. This one is bidirectional. It is in out. It is in out. So now if you just see, so keeping full adder in this mind, what happens is, so whenever there is external connection which is present or external unit, so this one has to accept the data from the top module. So when it is accepting the data, it's possible this thing would be register or net data type. It is register or net data type. So how do I remember it? If I just compare it, this is the output which is taken from the top level module and given as input to the lower level module. So it is output. So with respect to output port, it can be either register data type or net data type. But this one is acting as what? It is acting as input to this one, input to this module. It is acting as input to this module. Therefore, what happens is this input can be register or net data type. And remaining in the same way, if I just analyze, when it is external unit, output port will be of net data type and in-out port will be of net data type. So this is how I can analyze the port connection rules. So any queries around here? So these are the port connection rules, what we have discussed. So in continuation, we with the port declaration, we have a few more concepts. That is width matching. So what is related to width matching? So here you can just see it is legal to connect internal and external items of different sizes when we are having intermodule port connections. So what is happening is, suppose you have a module and this is accepting 2 bits as input. It is accepting 2 bits as input, but from external you are just providing 1 bit. So this is permitted, but this is illegal. It is illegal because what happens is illegal in the sense it will just issue a warning. You can do this, but it will issue a warning that say the bit size is this much, but you are assigning just 1 bit. If it is reverse also, it will tell that you are trying to assign more number of bits to a lesser bits, lesser bit variable. So something of these kind. So it is okay to go ahead. Only a warning will be issued, but when you are coding, you should keep in mind that this thing is present. If it is there, then this is what happens. So this is accepting 2 bits, and externally you are giving 4 bits. So it is permitted to do so. Permitted in the sense when you're coding, this possibility is there. But when you're doing so, just be careful, because it will not throw any error, it will just throw a warning. And due to this, there might be some logical errors. There might be some logical errors. So just see what you're doing. So width matching is not a problem. Different size external and input connections can be done. So next is unconnected ports. So now what if I have a port list present in that? Can I leave the ports undeclared? So I can leave the ports undeclared. So generally why they do this is they use it for debugging purpose to analyze whether it is operating properly or not. So these kind of things they can do using these kind of connections. You can have a port list, but no need to declare them as no need to provide any declaration for those ports. So that is also permitted in Verilog. So this is an example where they have given. So in this, what is done is we had full adder in previous case. Then we have FA0. So this is an instance of full adder. This is an instance of full adder. And what are the parameters which are present? Sum. You can see that there is a blank over here. Then A, B, C in. So in previous this thing we had seen that full adder accepts sum, C underscore out, A, B, and C in. 5 parameters. So that is, so here we can see module full adder sum C underscore out A, B, C in. So this is the module and this is the module name. You're using module name, I can create the instances like full adder 4, say first adder. So and then I can have the parameters. So here what is happening in the other case, so here we can see that in this one FA0, which is present, that is which is instance of this full adder 4, some C in is not there. A, B, sorry, C out is not there, A, B, and C in. So it is okay to do so. So only the other parameters will be utilized. So, but when we are specifying, we should be careful enough. I cannot put blank here and then put sum. So this will be taken as part of the sum. And we had seen that this is 4 bits. And it is legal to go and give 4 bits to a 1 bit variable. C out is 1 bit. So this is permitted. So in this cases, it becomes really difficult. It will just throw a warning. So here sum A, B, and C in this we have left it as it is. So it is like it is unconnected over. So we have an example of illegal port connection. So we can just see what is illegal in this case. So here what we have module top, we have module top, then we have A and B which are being declared as register data types. Then CIN is also declared as register data types. This one is declared as register data types and wire, that is C out. Now here you can see what we have. We have full adder instance in which all these things are given. Now what is happening is it is called as illegal because the output port sum which is present in the module of the full adder is connected to register variable sum in the top module. So here this also actually creates a problem. This also creates a problem. Now why this creates a problem is if you just observe in top module and full adder module, what you're doing, sum is actually output of full adder. Sum is actually output of full adder. So when it is output of full adder, this can be declared as what? This can be declared as a register data type within full adder. Within full adder. And this one is coming as input to top module. It is coming as input to the top module. Since this one is acting as input to the top module, I cannot declare it as a register data type. It has to be net data type. That is, I have to declare it as a wire. So that is the problem what they are specifying over here. And A and B are actually given as input to full adder. They're given as input to the full adder. So it is like these two are going as output from the top module. So that is full adder is the internal module, top module, this thing is the external module. So A and B. So these are being taken as input. So this one can be declared as what? They can be declared as the since they are going as output, they can be declared as reg or net data type. They can be declared as reg or net data type. They can be declared in this form. But sum is what? Sum is being given from full adder to the top module. So here what happens? This part I cannot declare as a register over here. I have to declare it as wire. So that is the illegal this thing which statement which is present around here. Now here you can see that cout is wire. Cout is wire. So this is not having any problem. But this is problematic since you are declaring it as a registered data type. So here we can just make an observation. So here I have sum and here I have A and B. So this is the top level module. So from this one, you are giving it to full adder. So if you just observe based on this diagram, right? A and B are input. They can be of what data type? They can be of register or net data type. And sum is what? Output from this one. And it is external. It is given external to the module. It goes out of the module. So since this one is there, it can be of only net data type. It cannot be of reg data type. And even cout was declared, which is of net data type, that is wire. Cout. So that is what you can observe from this example. So this is what they have specified in this statement. Okay. So this is the problem. So any queries here? So there is another concept related to the ports and terminals, connecting ports to external signals. So external signals, basically there are two methods in which we can connect the ports to external signals. So external signals, for example, in the previous case, what we saw, we had top and full adder. So we had some input, some output. So what we had defined full adder 4, and we had the port list like sum, cout, A, B, and C in. So these are the things which are present. So in the port list, now when I am creating an instance of this, say full adder 4, I am creating a full adder first one, and I'm passing the parameters. So how I can pass these parameters? What are the different ways I can achieve? So I can pass the parameters in the sense, so here first parameter is what? Related to sum. So I can pass the first parameter as the sum. Next one is what? Cout. So next value should be related to cout. Next one related to the variable say A. Next one related to the variable B, and next one related to variable I. So this is the first method. So in this one, what is happening? You are following the order in which these parameters are defined, or these ports are defined. So this is the first port, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So if I remember it in this form, so here in ordered sequence, you have to send it first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So this is how I provide the connection between the two. So I have to follow a ordered list, or else there is another way how I can send these, say, in this information to the full adder. So how I can do it is, I can say in the parameter list, I can first send C in, then A, then B, then I can have a blank, or so dependingly, then I have sum and cout. So if you just see, I'm not following the order in which these are present. Randomly, I'm just passing these parameters. Even this is possible, even this is possible, but you should give an indication to the full adder specifying that this first parameter what I'm passing is related to carry in. Next parameter what I'm passing is related to variable A. Next parameter what I'm passing is relevant to B, and so on. But I should give that indication. No need to provide the ordered list. You can go in any order, but you should take care that you have to tell which one is for which purpose. So these are the two methods in which I can have the connection between the external signals. So here we have two methods: connecting ports by ordered list and connecting ports by names. So let us see one by one what are these things specified. Connecting ports by ordered list. First one. So let us take the example itself. So again, it is related to module instantiation. Okay, when we are instantiating the module, at that time, how we are passing those signals or parameters to the module. So here, signals to be connected must appear in the module instantiation in the same order as the ports in the port list, as you have given it in the module definition. And now, so what we have, just look at this one. We have module, full adder, sum, cout, A, B, and Cin. So these are the port list. This is the declaration what you have done, and rest all is the logical implementation what you will be having. So this is the module what you have defined. Okay, this is the module definition. Now using this definition, I can create instances. So in the module, top module, we are creating the instance. So I'll not go into this one. So here you can see what we have: full add 4. So which is the name of this module, which is the name of this module. Then we have FA underscore ordered, FA underscore ordered. So we have full add 4, FA underscore ordered. So if you just see what is the first say parameter what we are using, sum. So it is relevant to sum. Cout, it is relevant to cout. Then A, B, and Cin, A, B, and Cin respectively. So what you're doing, you're passing the parameters or the signals in the order itself. You're not changing the order in which it is being defined in the port list of the module. So this is connecting the ports by ordered list. Connecting the ports by ordered list. Next one, connecting the ports by names. So we'll just look at the example and then come back to this part. So now here you can see that the previous this thing, again we are creating an instance, full add 4, FA by name. Now what you're doing, you are passing first parameter, you can see that it is cout, then it is sum, then it is B, then Cin, then A. So if you just observe, it is not in the same sequence in which it has been declared in the port list. If it has been given in the port list, it is not in the same way. In port list, what we have sum first, then cout, then A, B, and Cin. So these are the parameters which are present or signals which are present in the port list in this order. But here, if you just see, I am not passing it in order. I am passing cout first, then I am passing sum, then B, C, and A. So it is not in order, but you should inform the other instance. You should inform the instance that this parameter is related to what? This is related to say cout. How do I do it? So if it is dot c underscore out. So this is the parameter name what you have. So in here you can see what you have, c underscore out. All are in lowercase. Sum is also lowercase. A, B, and C in. So if I come back to this part, you can just observe. So this is the parameter what actually you are passing. So, but this is related to what? It is related to c underscore out of this module. C underscore out of this module. So this one goes and sits in C underscore out of the module full add 4. So similarly here, lowercase sum. So dot sum in the bracket, you tell that this is the parameter what I'll be using for sum. So similarly, even for others, you can just observe. So this is how it is going around. So this is another example what he has taken in which he is passing by name. So here we have A is here, B is here, sum is here, and then Cin is here. Now you can see that there is one parameter which is missing is Cout. It is not present in this case. So this is also legal. So this is also fine. That is, you can leave ports unconnected. This is also fine. So this is how we can say by virtue what we tell passing the parameters between the functions. So, but it is not the functions what we are discussing. We are discussing the modules. This is how we exchange the signals or connect the signals between the external. We connect the ports to the external signals. Now, what is the advantage of the previous? What is the advantage of the present? So previously, what happens is you should remember the sequence in which the list has been defined. The list has been defined. But in this case, right, by name, what happens is no need for you to remember the sequence. Now imagine if there are hundreds of elements present in the port list, then it becomes really difficult to give it in the proper sequence. One exchange here and there, then you might not get the expected result. But if you remember the names, remembering the names is pretty easy. So if you remember the names in which it is given, then I can utilize this kind of technique. That is, I connect the ports by names. So when the port list is large, that time this is a useful way of going ahead and but remembering the order sequence is really difficult. So under such circumstances, going by name is also preferred. That is what we have for the connecting ports to external signals. So what are the advantages? No need to remember the port list, and since we can have say ports unconnected ports, so even if you miss out, it will not be a problem. But if you're going in ordered case, if you miss out something and if some mismatch happens, then it creates a problem. So in ordered sequence, if you're going like some, I had to give C out, but by mistake I gave A, B, and C in. So something this kind, one parameter is missing. So this will create problem. So such kind of things is not present. Even if you leave it as it is not a problem. So these are just a few this things, and unconnected ports can be dropped. So that is what we were speaking of. So these are few of the advantages related to connecting ports by its name. Okay. So last concept we have is the hierarchical names. So what is meant by hierarchical names? So in simple, what we had top, and then we had a full adder. So here, if you just look at the hierarchy, this is at the lower level, this is at the higher level. So it is like I write it as top and full adder. I write as full adder. So this is higher level hierarchy, this is lower level hierarchy. So hierarchical names are related to identifying, say, if I tell you sum, so in the previous case of full adder, so what is the hierarchical name which is present in that? So that is what it specifies. So if I just check out Verilog basically supports hierarchical design methodology. That is what we had discussed at the starting: top down approach or bottom up approach. Then we had identifiers which we use to identify the names of the modules, instances, signals. So we use identifiers for those purposes. So these identifiers, how they are actually linked with the hierarchy. So if I want that information, I can make use of this stimulus information in order to get the hierarchical names. So here, what happens is whenever we have defined whenever we have an identifier, for example, we had the top and in full adder, we had A, B, then C and sum and C out. So these are the parameters of the identifiers which are present at what level of hierarchy they are related. So if I have to identify that, then I can do it in Verilog. I can identify it in Verilog. So a particular identifier has a unique place in the design hierarchy. So here A is defined at this hierarchy. say at the full adder level of hierarchy. Next, we have hierarchical name referencing. It basically allows to denote every identifier in the design hierarchy with a unique name. So in example, we'll just check what actually it means over here. And now here, what happens is, again, we have few more concepts which are related to this. Then hierarchical name is a list of identifiers which are separated by dots in each level of hierarchy. So in example, it will be clear. So we'll just refresh at that point. So here we have, just go to the example over here. Okay. So here we have stimulus. Say this is like the top this thing. Then I have the full adder. Then I have full adder implemented using say an AND gate or AND gate. So something of this kind. So here the example what they have taken is it is the SR latch. So here we have the top level module, and this is not instantiated by anybody else. So this one acts as the root module. This one is the root of everything. This one is the root of everything. In root, you have defined these parameters. These are the identifiers which are being defined. So these parameters belong to root. So under this, I have another module instance which is being created for SR latch. So this is M1 which is there. Under M1 again we have two instances N1 and N2. And apart from that, these are the variables which are being defined. So now we have to create the instances. These are the instances which are created by M1. So N1 is the NAND gate is the instance. NAND gate is an instance which is created within M1. This one also and these also. Now, what is meant by hierarchical names? So here you can just see. So stimulus is the name of this root level hierarchy. So when I just say stimulus, it will give me stimulus dot q. Sorry, stimulus. I have sorry, not stimulus dot q. So I have stimulus dot q bar. That is this parameter. So I have stimulus, which is the root. So from this root, I can track down the others. So stimulus dot q bar is related to this. Stimulus dot reset is related to this. So here you can see that you have stimulus dot m1. So this is related to this. Under this, what I have q. So it is related to this one. So it is like stimulus m1 and q. So if I want the hierarchical names, they get separated by the say the period operator, and starting from the root to the variable what you are trying to identify. So I want to identify the hierarchy of R, this R. So I make use of the hierarchical names. So R is related to what? R is from M1 and M1 is from this root. So it is giving you the information of that. So what is the hierarchical which is present over here? So this is what we have for